I'm gonna wing it. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be great, maybe it'll be really weird. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you especially to Rich and Sandy for coming up for this. It's so good to see you guys. So yeah, I'm really excited to show you all what I've been doing over the past year with my senior practicum project for DORT. The question that I get asked a lot when going into this is, why Japan? There are several reasons, statistical reasons and personal reasons. First of all, as to why missions in Japan are needed. Oh, there we go. Yes, here are some general statistics. You'll hear more about this in the video, but just as a little bit of a primer, less than 1% of the Japanese population is Christian, and out of that, it's less than 0.5% that is Protestant. The reason this matters is because, according to the World Health Organization, Japan has pretty consistently had one of the highest suicide rates and lowest birth rates among developed nations. So the nation itself is struggling and is in desperate need of a lifeline to latch onto. And as Christians, we know that the gospel and the truth that we have in Christ is one of the best lifelines that we can possibly have. As for the personal reasons, this is my family with our exchange student Kokoa from a couple years ago. Some of you might remember her, but she was from Japan. When she stayed with us, I began developing more of an interest in Japanese culture. I had already had a little bit of it because I enjoy anime, which is from Japan, as you can see by our matching My Hero Academia t-shirts. But yeah, so through Kokoa, I kind of started to learn the language, learn more about Japanese culture, Japanese food. Amazing. So that's where the personal bit comes in. Yes, so about a year and 2 months ago, I was having a conversation with my uncle, Nate, who is the pastor at a church out in Iowa, Ireton CRC, and he mentioned that his church was looking into doing a summer missions trip to Japan because they sponsor a missionary out there named Ken Lee, who I will talk more about in a moment. And I had already developed this interest in Japan, but I knew very little about Christianity out there. So I started to have a conversation with him about this, and he didn't know much at the time, but based on what he did know, I started to think, this is a story that needs to be told to people. I knew nothing about how few Christians there were, and I'm guessing that many of you, unless you are familiar with the work that Rich and Sandy did not know that either. So I started to think, how can I get this out to the church and to the world? At the time, I was in a documentary filmmaking class. My major is digital media production, so that's kind of tied into there. And I thought, someone should make a documentary about this. I should make a documentary about this. I knew very little about it at the time, but I just casually in conversation threw the idea out to Uncle Nate, and suddenly it became less of a haha what if, and more of a this is actually going to happen. And that was largely thanks to the support that I received both from the Ireton Church and from our church family here at Lucas. So again, thank you all so much. None of this would have been possible without you guys. So this is our team that we went with for that first trip in August. Yeah, great team, everyone from Ireton, Uncle Nate and my cousin Lydia, and then several members of their church family. We all did our own fundraising. I was separate from them because I'm not a member of their church, but we all worked together and prepared for the trip. And as we were preparing, we got to know more about the missionary that we would be working with over that trip. His name is Ken Lee. He works in the Tokyo metropolitan area for the Reformed Church in Japan. He's been there since the 1990s, and his main ministry is to work with the youth. And he told us that in Japan, youth is any time before you get married. So 18 to 49 is what he works with. And he also, in addition to working with youth ministry, he coordinates with Resonate Global Mission, which is the mission board that the CRC has to send teams from churches out to Japan, which is how the Ireton trip ended up happening. I don't know how well you can see the map up there, but that's kind of the Tokyo area where he is from. So yeah, we did a couple Zoom calls with him, got to know him a little better, and he also started telling us more about the other mission that we would be working with. So these are the Lowers. They are a little bit north of Tokyo. They run a mission called the Nozomi Center in the town of Yamamoto, which is near the largest city of Sendai, again about 200 miles north of Tokyo. So what the Nozomi Center does is it started out as a disaster relief center in 2012 after the devastating earthquake and tsunami hit the coast in 2011. They had been, the Lowers had been in Japan for several years before then, but they kind of inherited the leadership of the Nozomi Center. So now that some time has passed since the disaster, they've switched to being more community-oriented and holding church services and other events in the community to kind of bring people in. One thing that we see as kind of a theme throughout this is that it's really hard to get Japanese people to come to a church service, but they will come to another type of event if it is something that they recognize. So what we did when we were with them, let me see if we have pictures. Yeah, there we go. So what we did as our team is we helped them run a cooking class for the community. We taught them how to make kind of a Midwestern style meal. We did grilled chicken and potato chips, and it was really yummy and a lot of fun to watch them try to cook something that they never really done before. And then that same night we also cooked a large meal for anyone in the community to come, and then at both of these events we had a meal, and then we had a gospel message from the son of Woody and Lori. So really great place, really, really kind people, very bright, a lot of suffering in that community, but it was pretty amazing to see just the ways that the Nozomi Center is doing good work and helping to bring the gospel to a community that very desperately needs it. So after our work there, that was about 2-3 days, I don't remember exactly, but after that our team went down to the Tokyo area to see where Ken Lee does his work. And this was focused a little more on teaching us about Japan as opposed to ministering to the Japanese. So we did a lot of basically sightseeing, but with a focus on like looking past the external facade that Japan puts up. Because it's a very beautiful nation and they're very focused on beauty, but it hides a lot of the darker things underneath, like we talked about earlier. So we saw all the sights, but we were like, okay, what does this really say about what the need is for the people of Japan? So yeah, we saw the city of Tokyo and some of the shrines that were there. We went to the famous Meiji Shrine in the heart of Tokyo. And then the top left picture up there is kind of what I ended up using as kind of the key art for the documentary. And I took that photo in the neighborhood where we were staying in Tokyo, Tokorozawa, which was about 40 minutes by train west of Tokyo. Very fun place, very busy, bustling neighborhood. It was really, really enjoyable. So then coming back, I got the chance to interview Rich over Zoom. This was kind of in the time between coming back from the trip in August and starting to work on post-production for the documentary. So yeah, I interviewed Rich. I think most of you know a lot of this information already. Retired missionary, many, many years in Japan, Rich and Sandy had. And then came back, served as Dean of Students at Calvin until 2012. Correct me if I'm getting anything wrong. All right, it's a little more pressure when they're actually here in front of me. But yeah, we had a really good conversation, and again, you'll hear bits of that in the documentary itself, but I'm just so blessed to have gotten to know you and to work with you in the creation of this. I had started emailing with Rich even before the trip in August, just to kind of help prepare myself and get to know what I'd be going into, and then we got to have this Zoom conversation, and it was excellent. So, yeah, after that, I started hearing things around campus at Dort that there was a buzz about a team going to Japan in March. And I had no idea this was going to be a thing when I decided to start doing this documentary. And I'm like, that would be really amazing to go again so soon. But what about the money? And I called Dad. I told him about this. Basically, he didn't say it like this. He said it in a more loving way, but he was basically like, you're stupid. You have to do this. He didn't use the word stupid, but looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, I was stupid. So, yeah, I started to fundraise for the Dort Amore trip, which would be leaving in March over spring break. Again, thank you. Many of you supported me on that. Very meaningful. So, hang on. Yes, so there's our team for that trip. This is us in a temple that I will talk more about when I get into the actual trip. But yeah, so this trip was a little different because it was mostly people my age as opposed to older people from a local church. So it was all students, 2 leaders, and we all worked together to raise funds, and we headed out at the very, very end of February. So for this trip, we were working with Peter and Diane Bakelar. They are actually with the Presbyterian Church Mission Board. And what they do is they run an art gallery in the town of Seto, which is near the bigger city of Nagoya. So the gallery itself is not like outwardly facing Christian. Like they don't have any obvious signs that this is a Christian place or it's a mission organization. And that actually helps them to draw people in because Japanese people don't really relate to Christianity at all. It's something like other, and art is something that they do understand. So they're, again, much more likely to walk into an art gallery than they are a church. And then as they're going around and looking at the art pieces, they can use that as a way to start conversations about, well, this is beautiful. Oh, why is it beautiful? Well, I don't know. What is beauty? Who created beauty? Why do we appreciate beauty? So I think that's a really amazing way to do missions. It's unlike anything I've ever really seen before, and as an artist, it really spoke to me. But yeah, the work they do there is great. They host artists from all around the world, Japanese artists, American artists. It's really incredible. Yeah, so I neglected to mention as well, the March trip was specifically for art majors and for digital media majors. So what the digital media majors were going to be doing out there was filming as much footage as we could to put together a promotional video for the gallery, or a series of promotional videos. So that worked out perfectly for me because I was able to share the footage that we captured out there and use it for my documentary. So this is our filming team up on the top left there. Yeah, and in the bottom left corner, that is the priest that you saw in the earlier picture. We got the chance to do an interview with him at this temple in the city that the temple itself was either Buddhist or Shinto, I always forget, but it was dedicated to early Christian martyrs. So even though the people of Japan don't really relate to Christianity, they relate to believing in something. And they hold in very high regard people who do strongly believe in something. So if you're not familiar with the history, the early Christians who went as missionaries to Japan were persecuted horrifically. And in the modern day, most people in Japan see that and they recognize it as a horrific tragedy, even if they don't really understand the significance behind our faith. So yeah, this temple was built and is kept up as a way to honor the sacrifice of the Christian martyrs. So we had a chance to interview the head priest there and to talk to him about why he continues to upkeep this, even if he doesn't believe in Christianity, we really got to understand his understanding of Christianity, and we kind of all started to realize that these people, most of them have no idea what Christianity really is. They think they do, but they have no clue. Like their assumptions and what they've been told are very, very wrong, at least compared to our understanding of things. And it really got us thinking, like, how do we shape their conception of Christianity, and how might we also be misjudging their religions? Like, what do we, lost my train of thought. Anyway, so yeah, that was the filming part of the trip. We also got to do a bunch more sightseeing, went to Tokyo again, also went to Kyoto, which is the old capital, got to see a bunch of old shrines, and accidentally took the long hike up a mountain instead of the normal paved hike, which was fun. But yeah, it was a really, really fun trip, really great group of people, and I learned a lot about Japan, even more than I had seen in the first trip, and got some amazing footage that I can't wait to show all of you. So yeah, oh, I don't know why those are arrows. Anyway, so going back to Dort after this, the months of March, April, and the beginning of May were very, very heavy post-production months. So I started out, I did a very text-based editing workflow. I don't know if any of you will understand what this means, but so I put all the interviews into the editing software, transcribed them using the built-in function, which was a lifesaver. So then I printed out my script. From there, I highlighted the most important key moments, and I'm like, okay, I really need to include this, really need to include this, oh, I really need to include this. I had so much that I really wanted to include that didn't make it. So from there, I put together a rough cut on the timeline, and then cut more and more and more, and it hurt my heart, because there were things in there that I'm like, people need to hear this, but I just couldn't keep it in for time. Over 70 hours of post-production to create the finished product, and even then I'm like, oh, there are things I still need to fix. So yeah, yes, that is what my editing timeline looked like in the software. Again, I don't know if any of you understand what that looks like. Some of you might, I don't know. But the first, like the middle tracks were the interviews, color-coded based on who was saying what, and then on top I laid the B-roll, which is footage that goes, again, over top of the interviews. Just that's most of the footage that we took, like the sites in Japan, the scenery, places we were, stuff we were doing, all that. The top tracks are for motion graphics, which I made myself, and then underneath that you have your sound design and your music tracks. So yeah, it's kind of fun to look at, especially now that I've been away from it for a little longer. I can look at it without wanting to scream. So yeah, I think then this is, oh no, so yes, the name of the documentary is Kishikaise, which is a Yoji Jukugo. I practiced saying that many times. It's a Japanese idiom that's written with 4 of the kanji characters. So Japanese has 3 different alphabets, hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Kanji are the pictorial ones, so they each kind of represent a word or a concept. And there are a couple translations of this phrase, idiom, that I found. Wake from death and return to life. Revival from the brink of death. Recovery from a hopeless situation. And it's often used in the context of an unexpected turnaround or victory, or in sports, an upset. So I thought that was pretty fitting for reasons that hopefully you can already see, but will be made clear when we watch the film. So without further ado, let's go.
Japan is the largest unreached people group in the world. Many times we don't think Japan is a needed field. Why? Because or their high standard of living standard. When we think about missions, many of us we think about the poor countries. Unfortunately, they don't think about the spiritual poverty in this land. Physically, yes, they're a rich country. Spiritually, they're one of the poorest countries in the world.
Thinking about the low percentage of not yet Christians in Japan is sobering because it's been a statistic that has not moved incrementally as fast as we would like to see.
The general statistic is that less than 1% of the Japanese population are Christian, and that percent includes Catholic, Protestant, and all the cults that are in Japan.
The religions of Shintoism and Buddhism are interwoven in Japanese culture and Japanese society in so many ways.
As an elderly man said to us a few months ago, this is what I was taught by my parents, and I don't want to reject it because this is all I've ever known.
It's not like Christianity because I feel God's love and now I want to love Him. They don't have things like that. And because their parents did it and their parents did it, because their ancestors did it, they're just used to going there and just bowing down from a young age. Many of them don't even know what they believe, yet they still bow down.
The Japanese are very good at assimilating all kinds of philosophies and ideas and religions and holding all of that at the same time. Nothing is exclusive of each other. So I can be born and have a Shinto ceremony as a child. I can have a Christian wedding. And then when I die, I have a Buddhist funeral.
When we share that our God is the only God and He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, they don't understand that concept. They believe that Christianity is just another one of those gods.
They have an expression in Japanese. It is shikigatakai. If you were to look at the entryway in a Japanese home or a church, you have to step up onto the level of the first floor. But it has instead of being a literal meaning, it means something figuratively. It means it's hard for Japanese people to come into a church. They see it as something foreign. They see it as something that they don't identify with at all.
Christianity is perceived as a Western religion. So therefore, I'm just not interested in it. They know of Christianity, but they don't really know anything about it.
In Japan, the average size of church is 32. That will consist a pastor and at least 2 elders. And with those 32 people, they pay the rent, they pay the salary, and they pay for the ministry.
In the 50s, young people responded very readily to the presentation of the gospel in our churches. That's not true so much anymore. We've seen more and more older people coming to Christ.
That generation who became Christians kind of in the 40s, 50s, maybe early 60s, they're older, they're dying off, and then pastors are also getting older and retiring.
We've been working in the ministry of church planting for that duration of the time that we've been in Japan.
In the last 5 to 7 years, we decided We were going to explore the possibility of what does ministry look like through the arts, and the gallery Nani is the result of that. Art really does speak to the Japanese heart very quickly. We've had people come into the gallery, view an art exhibition, and then break down in tears and tell us their life story. And this is highly unusual for the Japanese people. They're usually keep everything close and hidden.
Beauty points to the beauty of God, the beauty of the Creator. And so it's a wonderful common ground to be on when you're thinking about introducing somebody to who created all this and why do we appreciate beauty? Why do we appreciate the things that we see around us? And it engages not only the heart, but our minds.
We are in the midst of seeking to plant a church in a town that's never had a Christian church in the past, and one which lost nearly 700 residents in 2011 when the large earthquake and tsunami devastated the whole Pacific coast area.
667 bodies were found in the town, and out of that, 637 were actual residents of the town. The population went from around 17,000 down to just over 12,000.
Virtually every person in this town, they either had a family member or close relative or a neighbor or a good friend, at least somebody who died. When it first happens, you're thankful that you're alive. But eventually, the relief of having been spared is going to be surpassed by the realization that life is never going to go back the way it was. By 2016, when we came here, I think that initial stage of thankfulness had largely worn off. It had been quite a while. We were well into the stage of wanting to be able to avoid despair, the despair of my life is now gone. The seal that we have on the sign out front has scripture references that are designed to be an encouragement. Faith, hope, love comes out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's an encouragement, a promise of rebuilding. When that sign was slapped up there on 2012, this community was largely not rebuilt. There were mountains of debris being sorted all over the place, but there wasn't any rebuilding going on that early on by any means.
After the disaster, it was so devastating for most families, they needed encouragement. So the work that was done here was very helpful. It built a lot of trust in the community. And so it made people's hearts a little bit more open to coming in. When we go visiting different places in the town, people usually know the name of the center. And so there's automatically less fear. There's more of a comfort there. Even though they're nervous about what their neighbors think, once they get in here, then they're free. They can talk and say what they want, and they don't worry so much about what everybody else outside is thinking. But they know that we are open ears, and that gives us the freedom to talk about Jesus. Because we can say, yeah, our hope is not in what we lost. He is the Lord who can carry us and wants to carry us because he loves us.
Even though our growth is very slow, we see churches growing.
We estimate somewhere between 25 and 30 people, non-Christians, hear about Jesus, hear the gospel every month here. And there are people that are interested. There are people that I think in their heart of hearts are saying, oh, man, I really do want to believe that. But there's a real cost.
In the work that we have been involved with, we've seen a lot of fruit. And that's encouraged us because we've seen people come to know Jesus as their Savior. We've seen baptisms, we've heard testimonies, and we see how God is at work in different people's lives.
Japan is like playing golf. You look at your goal and you measure and you get ready and you swing. Then after your ball has been gone, you walk towards there, and once you get there, you look again and you measure and you swing. Then you walk there again. And so it's very slow process, but it is sports also. You don't see many fast effects or fruits, but over the process of long ministry and continuing to serve them, you see people change.
We very much feel the spiritual warfare that goes on a daily basis to try and communicate the gospel to the Japanese people. We appreciate your prayers for that.
I'm just convinced that for some reason that's hard to fathom, God has decided to work through our prayers. And he wants us to pray. He commands us to pray. And as we pray, he answers those prayers. And we need to pray for the Japanese nation, for the Japanese church.
Of course, financial support of missionaries is very important, but I would say, prayer is hard work, and people feel maybe they don't know how to pray, but it really needs to be done.
If you could continue to pray for Japanese brothers and sisters to share their gospel and what they believe, and have them to live out their faith. Because out of 200 Japanese, most likely only one person is Christian.
Another thing that we can do is we need more missionaries to continue the work there.
I hope and pray that many brothers and sisters from America would actually find out more about Japan and come to Japan and experience.
Jesus does reign here, and Satan's hold is no longer on this community. It feels as though it is, but it isn't really.
Yeah, yeah, thank you guys so much. Again, this would not have been possible without so much support from Lucas CRC, so special thanks will be up in a second. But yeah, thank you all. I'd like to open it up for questions, so if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask me about the making of the film or my knowledge of Japan based on this, which is probably limited, but yeah, feel free to ask anything that you're curious about. I'd love to tell you more. Yes.
Okay. It's very rich economically,
Yes.
but very spiritually poor.
Correct. Yeah.
So I was looking at, the photographs here, and how close are these cities to the big industrial centers that make that country go?
It's kind of all industrial. There are more rural. Maybe you guys can speak to this a little more, because this is one thing that I don't really know. Tokyo is very, just from what I saw, very industrial. A lot of their industry is technology, very, very technologically advanced. But yeah, that is a question I'm a little less equipped to answer, so I might have to do some research on it. Do you want to speak to that?
5/6 of the country is mountains, and the coastal areas around Tokyo, Nagoya, where you were, and Osaka, Kobe, those are not only the population centers, but also the industrial bases.
Yeah. Did you all hear that? Okay, I can repeat that. So, 5/6 of the country is mountains. Is that what you said? Yeah. So it's largely mountains in the center of the country. The coastal areas are the high population centers, so that's where you get cities like Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, Kobe, the famous cities, and those are also where the major industry centers are. Did I get everything? Yeah. All right, yeah. All right, any other questions? Yeah? Yeah. Yes?
How are you going to market your video or whatever you would like to call it so other people see it?
I'm still deciding that. I had thought about maybe entering it into some Christian film festivals, but now that it's up on YouTube, you're not really supposed to do that after it's been a little more widely released. So I think I would like to keep pushing this project further. I would love to make a longer cut, like an hour-long film someday, because again, there was so much that I just couldn't tackle in a version that was under 20 minutes. So I would love to revisit this project, go back to Japan for a longer amount of time, and get more footage, get more interviews. I just feel like there's so much more here that I could explore and that should be said, that I would love to continue to explore. So, yeah, the answer is I don't know. Any other questions? Yeah, Rich.
Just a comment, that Misato Reformed Church that you showed there with Reverend Mochiba,
Yeah.
that church was started 37 years ago with the support of the Lucas Christian Reformed Church, as they
Yes.
supported us, and we were the ones that helped to start that.
Yes. Yeah, very, very cool. It's a lovely, lovely church. I didn't mention it when I was talking about the trip, but yeah, we went there. We felt very, very loved and supported. Our team did. A lot of the congregation members did speak at least some English, so that was one of the places where we were able to have conversations a little more. But we sat in on their service, could maybe sing along with their hymns a little bit, even though they were all singing in Japanese. It was familiar tunes, which was really neat. And then afterwards, they did a potluck for us, and it was all like a familiar setting of a potluck, but it was all Japanese food, and it was So good. All like home cooked Japanese food. Oh my goodness. It was amazing. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Jenna, if somebody wants to watch the movie again or want to share it, how can they find it?
Yeah, that is a great question. So my little production name that I gave myself is Red Lightning Productions. So if you search that up on YouTube, right now I believe the documentary is the only video that I have on my channel. So yeah, search Red Lightning Productions, or you can search Kishi Kaisei Reviving Japan, but that's a little harder to remember if you can't get that idiom into your head. So Red Lightning Productions, Kishi Kaisei Reviving Japan, up on YouTube, available to the public, anyone can see it. Please share it around to other churches. I'm not very good at marketing myself, clearly, since I have no idea what my plans are. But yeah, feel free to share it with other churches, other people who might be interested in Japan. I would love to see this continue to make a difference and continue to inspire people to pray, and maybe even inspire people to look into going out there themselves, whether it's for a short-term mission or long-term. Yeah. Yes.
Just one final comment. That last scene that you had of Mount Fuji with the lake.
Yeah, that was not my shot. That was stock
Well,
footage.
anyway, Sandy and I spent 10 days over Christmas and New Year's at that spot with my son, daughter-in-law, and 4 grandkids.
Oh,
And
That's-
so you feel sorry for them.
oh man, I could never. I want to go there so bad. Yeah, I've only seen Fuji in passing. I would love to hike it or something. Maybe on a future trip. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna try to go back. I want to see everything, and there's only so much you can do over the span of week-long trips. So, yeah. All right. Anyone else before we close this out? Going once. All right. I just want to close out with a little information on the best ways to pray for Japan. I got in contact with all the missionaries in the documentary, as well as some other connections I made. I was going to make a little handout, but I forgot. So I'm just going to tell you. The main thing that a lot of missionaries said, other than just like the ever-present spiritual poverty there, is that a lot of the, not only missionaries, but church members as well, pastors, elders, leaders, they're getting up in age, and many of them are very, very close to retiring, and there are not enough young people to replace them. So just for any given ministry, pray that young people, especially young Japanese people, but just young people in general, will come and rise up and take up those leadership positions, because they are very, very needed. Another thing is, again, just the finding ways to bring people in to the churches, because, yeah, again, it's so foreign to most Japanese people, and they think they understand it, but they really don't. So just coming up with these new and creative ways to bring the Japanese people into the church and to give them ears to listen and hearts to begin to understand. Those are the main things that all the missionaries told me to pass on to you. So I hope that you all will continue to keep the nation of Japan on your minds and on your hearts, and the missionaries. Continue to pray for them, like we heard at the end of the documentary. Prayer is the most important thing, even more important than financial support, even more powerful. God works through our prayers, and we need to keep praying for the church out in Japan, because it is dire, but there is hope. There's always hope. So, yeah. Also, I would love it. Again, if you have any questions about this that you think of later, please feel free to ask me. I love talking about this. I've put a lot of time into doing research, so I will try to answer them the best that I can. But yeah, it's something that I've become very passionate about through the course of this project. I would love to talk more. I would love to continue conversations with Lucas as a whole about what we can do to continue supporting ministry out there. So, yeah. One last time, any final questions before I let you go? Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for coming.